Hamlet TED Talk. Should Hamlet still be used in teaching today? The question is, should Hamlet continue to be taught in schools today? As irritating and difficult as Shakespeare is, I think it should. In a blog written by Simon Cratchley and Jameson Webster called 9 Things You Can Learn from Hamlet, they highlight some important aspects that students should read and witness from the play Hamlet. Critchley and Webster give us the top 9 lessons Hamlet can teach us. Lesson number 1, the world is a prison. The world is a prison, Hamlet sighs. This is not just a statement of his mental state. Shakespeare's play is also a drama of surveillance in a police state. Everyone is being watched. This once required expensive and expansive networks of spies. Now it simply requires the use of the internet. Looking at lesson 1, Hamlet says the world is a prison is pretty accurate, but not in the sense of being trapped inside 4 walls. The internet can follow our every move with just a few clicks of a keyboard. In the world today, just like in Hamlet, we still need to be aware of our actions and the effects they have on others and ourselves. Lesson 2, to thine own self be true. To thine own self be true, not. People tend to forget that this line was put in the mouth of the daddy of all windbags, Polonius, and was heavily laden with irony. Polonius's self-serving drivel is an endless source of amusement. Looking at lesson 2, Polonius says, to thine own self be true. I think this is very important to not change yourself for others. But when Polonius says it, it has a subtle underlying humor to it because he is so self-centered and egotistical. Being true to oneself is being who you are unapologetically in all situations. It doesn't mean to think you're better than anyone else. Lesson 3. Were you not sent for? Were you not sent for? Never trust your friends. Like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, they might have been sent for by your ever-loving parents and be secretly plotting your execution. I think everyone can and will relate to lesson number 3 at some point in their lives. In the world today, the plotting of your execution may not be what your friends are planning, but trusting your deepest secrets to others will always come with a consequence. In Hamlet, the consequence just happened to be more deadly. Lesson 4. Mother, you have my father much offended. Mother, you have my father much offended. Hamlet doesn't know if his mother was in on the murder of his father. The Nazi jurist Carl Schmitt felt that Gertrude's guilt functions like a dark spot in the play. The lesson seems to be, you'll never figure out what your mother wants. Leave her to heaven, as the ghost says. In lesson 4, Hamlet is unsure if his mother was in on his father's murder. This lesson may be dulled down a few notches for today's world, meaning that as a child, you don't always need to know what your mother has planned, done, or even thought. A mother is there to teach and nurture you, not the other way around. If your mother is not telling you things, you should not be offended. There is probably a reason she is shielding you from things that only concern her. Lesson 5. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt in your philosophy. In other words, believe in ghosts. In a world where time is out of joint and the air is filled with wars and rumors of war, the dead are the only creatures courageous enough to speak the truth. Lesson 5 to me means that there are hidden messages in history that we may never know. I also think that this lesson is telling us that we can learn valuable lessons from the mistakes of history. When someone dies, their truth dies along with them. The truth of the dead may come to us in many ways, not just by interacting with a talking ghost. In Hamlet, his truth came from a ghost that led him to a letter of what truly happened to his father. This shows that messages come in many forms.